We are really excited. Hollie and I are here. Oh, I can turn this picture off and we can be bigger. Hollie and I are here. The chat feature in this takes a 15-second delay for your comments to show up. We know that, and we will just, if we ask for questions, we will hem and haw for a few seconds because you have to type in the question and then you have to send it, and it's 15 seconds before it comes. That's what you get when you do the free version, I guess. But we are really excited about this because we can share us and we can screen share, and we're very excited. So it looks like someone is already here. Hello. Make sure that we actually went live. Yep, it is going. Perfect. So here we are. This is Hollie. If you haven't, this is Hollie. She's on this side.
I think I'm backwards.
If you haven't met her yet, she is a practitioner who has joined Be Well Clinic. I'm so happy she's here, and she brings a wealth of knowledge to what I don't, as not having children, having personally had, right? Raised siblings, helpful, did not personally have, wean, or sleep with children. And so she brings so much knowledge and experience from that. So we're really excited for her to come. This will be a recording, so if you love it, share it with your friends, and we are really excited to present it. We also have, I'm sure Hollie will talk about this, but we have some of these resources she's going to talk about on the website. We're trying to build up more so that this is something that is around for people to share in a video format, a blog format, a PDF format. So that is all coming. We wanted to give a little bit of background about why we recommend what we're recommending for a weaning diet, why that's happening, what it is, all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Hollie and let you share your slide screen, or if you want an intro, and then tell me when you want me to turn on the slides. How's that?
Sure. Let's see. So I have a little lag with mine. I'm trying to get mine to pull up my notes here. Which is totally fine. I'm going to wing it because I know this stuff because this is what I did with my kids. So here we go. So yeah, hi. I'm Hollie. I know that I have met quite a few of the families with Be Well, but for anyone who's joining who is distant or I don't know, hello. I'll introduce myself just a little bit, but actually I'm going to talk through that kind of with as I go through. I have a little slideshow kind of thing I'm going to go through, and a lot of what I would introduce about myself will go through what it kind of goes through that, like why I'm here, why I'm doing this, why I am into a weaning protocol rather than just kind of like winging it or Googling something or going to the grocery store and buying something. So yeah, I have a lot to say about that. So yeah, I guess we can just go ahead and start this up. I'm going to present here. And Amy, since all I can see is my slides here, you just let me know if we're good.
That looks great.
Cool. Okay. So I'll probably just go ahead and I'll go ahead and go through the slides. Sorry, my little lag thing is not giving me exactly what I want. So
that's okay. I can take over for a second if you want me to.
I think I'm almost there. Sure, take over for 1 second. I need 10 seconds.
Perfect. Yes, it's hard to concentrate when you have to be talking. Yeah, so Hollie and I were talking about this, and we've been working with families and finding more and more that families are needing a more specific approach, not just to well children Weston A. Price recommendations, but as our world becomes toxic, we have been noticing different things needed. And so that's why I asked Hollie actually to come up with this, because her being the experienced expert, and she did it beautifully. So yeah, that's where this came from.
Cool, thank you. All right, I am here. Okay, so here we go. So keeping up with the time. So like Amy said, kind of a really big reason for coming up with a weaning diet, a weaning protocol, is that there is so much right now in times that didn't really have to experience before, didn't have to deal with before. There are so many chemicals and medications just toxins all around our environment. Something we're eating, something that goes on our skin, something that just kind of gets passed down through parents. Kids right now, babies, are exposed to so many things that they were never exposed to before. So because of that, we have to kind of react differently. We can't just kind of go along with whatever we're seeing in the supermarket to feed them, or just kind of go, I don't know, willy-nilly with stuff. It's really important to actually follow some kind of protocol. What I'm finding is that I myself, when I first started doing this about 4 years ago, and so many of my parent friends or patients have expressed how complicated.
Okay, it looks like we lost Hollie's
Stream
stream here. Let me let her know here. Hollie, your internet connection seems to not be working very well, and we lost your stream.
Oh.
So your voice was garbly, and then, yes, so you were doing great, and then it's messed up.
Okay.
Try talking now.
Am I back?
You are much more clear now. You have a green signal on my end.
A green signal.
It got red, like your connection got red at some point.
So, okay. All right.
So hopefully this is going to work again. So you were trying to say, and it was coming at like 1/3 through, about the kids in the world. And so I think you're good to go. You sound better now to everybody else. So cool. Maybe just start over.
Okay. All right. I'll try this again. I don't know if I'll say the same thing. So let's see. Okay. So basically, just with all of the increased chemicals and toxins, anything that are basically, kids are exposed to so much more now than they were before. Whether that is something that we eat, whether it's something that's on the skin, something passed down from their parents. There's just so many more toxins in the world right now that cause a lot of issues, health issues in general, and specifically with the gut. So a big thing that I am a proponent of is intentionally feeding your children as soon as they're ready to start eating something other than milk or formula, feeding them the most nutritious, easily digestible things that will really heal their guts and make their gut healthy for the long term. Yeah, I think that's everything I said before. So just being really intentional and not just trying to I want to help parents not flounder around, like Googling things and trying to just come up with something that might be good, but just have a plan, to have a simple plan that makes sense and that's intentional. So with that intro, here we go. Okay, so baby GAPS is really what we're talking about right now. I think a lot of people who follow us are semi-familiar with GAPS, but I just want to do so I'm not going to go super in depth with it. But I do want to talk about it a little bit. So GAPS stands for Gut and Psychology or Physiology Syndrome. It's a protocol for healing the mind and the body by healing and sealing a leaky gut. So a lot of people, especially adults, want to start doing GAPS when they start noticing symptoms. But it can be used not only to heal, but also to prevent illness. And that's where we start with baby GAPS. So that's why this is so important. Yes, some babies are already showing symptoms, and that's why we want to get them on GAPS right away. But I think it's important not only for those babies, but really for everybody. It is such a good way to heal them so that their guts, which we want the guts to be really strong and sealed and healthy so that the rest of the body is healthy. And this is doing the protocol this way, doing a weaning protocol is going to help and to ensure that. So my personal reason for getting into GAPS and why I'm so passionate about the healing protocols, this is my daughter, Magnolia, the day after she was born about 4 years ago. So she was obviously super sick in the NICU. She had a bunch of issues that I didn't even know were when I first had her. And she was, thankfully, her life was saved. by the medical interventions that she needed at that point. But she was pumped full of so many toxins, things that were completely life-saving, and I'm so thankful for them. But they helped in the moment, and then we had to figure out, okay, now going on, how do we heal her long-term so that she doesn't have any issues from the things that she had to have so early on in her life, like antibiotics and sedatives and opiates and so many things that she had at day one. For a few weeks. So that's when I really started looking into how can I help her and myself, because after this, I think I was mostly told that, I started having my own medical issues, and I was told, a lot of it came with PTSD from having a daughter in the NICU, and that's just a normal thing. And I think that's true. I think there's a lot of truth to that, but I also know that the stress, my inability to kind of be healing the way that I should have been healing after having my first child, with being able to eat well and lay flat and be horizontal, just allow my body to heal. I had a lot of complications postpartum that came through that experience. So I really came into learning nutritional therapy and learning GAPS in particular, following having both myself and my daughter. We recovered, where everyone would look at us and say, oh, you look like you're doing great. Wow, look at you. But inside there was so much that was not healed. And so that's why, that's kind of my story leading into this. So symptoms of a leaky gut. So like I was saying before, GAPS really is healing of a leaky gut. And there's so many different ways that can manifest. Digestively, that can look like nausea, vomiting, constipation, diarrhea. It can look like bloating. It can look like just discomfort, so many different things there. A lot of times with our babies, obviously our babies, our 4, 5, 6 month olds can't tell us, I'm nauseous, or I feel bloated, or something like that. And so starting on a protocol like this, I think, is so important, because they may be experiencing some of these things that we don't even know that they're experiencing. But by going through the GAPS protocol, the baby GAPS protocol, we can actually help relieve that and heal any of those symptoms, even if we don't know they're having them. Neurologic symptoms, those, again, a whole bunch of different ones that can manifest as anxiety or depression or hyperactivity, ADD, ADHD kind of stuff. That can be fatigue and brain fog, anything like that. We see that a lot as kids are getting older, right? Like school age, you see kind of that brain fog or depression we're seeing is so rampant in our kids right now. Anxiety, the hyperactivity, like I said, all of those things. Again, we probably wouldn't see that with our babies, but it's so common in even young kids right now. And so that's another good reason why to actually start with GAPS, to start it off right, to heal their guts, to seal their guts so that they don't experience those things later. Symptoms. This is one that we actually do see a lot we can see this in babies more than the other ones, where they have rashes or eczema or acne or any kind of those skin symptoms. And so if your baby is showing those, this is a kind of a surefire sign, like, yes, let's do this. Let's get them weaning on GAP so that we can heal those things. And then other symptoms, there's plenty of other ones, fatigue and food allergies or sensitivities or autoimmune kind of diseases or anything like that. So these are kind of the symptoms of a leaky gut, for which I would say if a baby is manifesting these, is showing these, then yes, let's get them to do this. If the parents or a sibling is showing any of these, again, another really good reason, because a lot of times those will trickle down to the baby, and just it's a good way to just ensure that, yes, we're healing the gut and we're going to set them up well for success for the rest of their lives. Let's see. All right. So kind of some of this I already said, but does my baby need a weaning protocol? I think a lot of times people are like, well, like basically healthy. I think my baby's basically healthy. You know, yeah, maybe they got some medications or, you know, kind of like the normal things that you would imagine for a baby. But they're, you know, they're basically fine. I think one big reason for this is that using the baby GAPS protocol gives you a really good structure and a strategy and intentionality, which are three things that I think parents really need. As a parent, I feel like there's, especially in those early months when you feel like all structure is taken away from you, strategy is basically gone because you're just going day to day, like, okay, is this working today or is this working today? Like there's very little consistency and feeling like you have a grasp on stuff. And then intentionality, just the intent, the piece of intentionality I think is so important. I think most parents want that. Most parents want to say, yes, I have a plan and I know what I'm doing, but it's really hard to do that. So my hope for this is just to kind of give you a tool so that you can feel like you have structure, you have strategy, and you're being intentional about your baby's health. Let's see. Like I said, if either of the baby's parents have had the symptoms, there's a good chance that those kind of can trickle down to the baby. And then again, yeah, like I said before, if the baby's demonstrating those symptoms, most likely he or she has leaky gut. And then lastly, I just love that this is safe. Everything that we're going to talk about, and we're getting there close to what the food actually is. But it's safe. It's all nutritious food. We know that it provides all the nutrition that we need, that our babies need. We know that it is proven to heal adults, children, and babies. And this is something, all of these foods have been used for centuries. Like these are traditional foods that have been proven to be healthy and effective for our babies. So I love that aspect of it. Okay. A couple of reasons why I think this is really great. I hear a lot of people saying, just because I'm a GAPS practitioner, I hear a lot of people saying that I wish my child or I had started GAPS earlier. And so it's just such a great thing to do with babies, like to start off really well, so that you're not kind of like lamenting the fact like, oh, I should have just done it. Like it would have been easier at that point, because it really is. It's so easy to start with babies because the next point, babies are instinctual. We don't have to like trick them or bribe them or coerce them into eating things. The first time you put something in a baby's mouth that's not breast milk, they're going to like spit it out. They're going to be like, what in the world are you doing to me? But they're going to learn really quickly that that's something good for them, if it is something that's good for them. So if you're feeding them foods that are actually like nutritious, that they need, that their bodies need, they're going to love them. They're going to eat them up, literally. And I love seeing that. A lot of times people are like, my baby just ate liver. I can't believe it. It's like, well, yeah, because it's really, really good for them. And they have no idea that it's supposed to like stink or taste bad, right? Like they love it. So it's a really good time to start. Like I kind of mentioned this before, but there's so much confusion around how to wean. And that's something that, just again, I want to take away like the confusion, the numerous gurus that are speaking into parents' life and just say like, here, just follow this. This is all you need to do. It's super simple. Here you go. And then you can just know that you're starting off with your baby the right way.
Hollie, we have a request to define leaky gut.
Yeah, totally. So leaky gut, so in your gut, you should have can you see my hand? Am I good like on screen and everything?
Yes.
Okay. So ideally, we want our guts to have a nice, strong wall that's super sealed and tight like this, right? So everything is nice and tight. When you have that, food will go through, it'll be digested well. Once it's digested, all the nutrients will be absorbed well, and that's how we're supposed to work. And the food will just kind of pass through going along the way it's supposed to. Mm-hmm. The problem when, like I was saying in the beginning, when we have so many toxins or chemicals or just kind of like man-made things that weren't ever really supposed to go into our bodies, they damage the gut. They damage the gut wall. And rather than having a good sealed gut, nice and tight, your gut wall is literally leaky. You literally have leaks in there. I meant to have a slide on it, and I think I don't have that. Sorry. But it's like, basically, it's just that you have holes in your gut, in the wall, of your intestines that when you start eating, when you take a bite, when you eat some kind of food, it's going to go through those holes and out into the bloodstream. So rather than it going exactly the way it should go, so that it gets broken down, so that you get the nutrients from it, you have these pieces of food that aren't even broken down that are going through into your bloodstream where they're not supposed to be. And then your body attacks them because it says, hey, that is not supposed to be there. This is a foreign object. I need to get this out of there. And it attacks it appropriately so to try to defend your body. But when that happens, you get all those symptoms we were talking about. So you get pains, you get aches and pains. It could be digestive stuff where you're like feeling nauseous or constipated or any of that. It can kind of go all the foods, the particles can go all over your body. And your body will respond and attack them wherever they go. So your symptoms can be anywhere in your body. That's why a lot of people have autoimmune type things, because all that literally means is that your body is attacking what it thinks or seems like it's kind of attacking itself, but it's really attacking these things that shouldn't be there in the first place. So that's leaky gut. So the whole premise of this is when you have holes in your gut, we just need to get them back tight, nice, seal those holes and keep them so that they are not going to just like loosen up and go back into holes. Is that an okay enough explanation? You can totally go ahead and ask more questions. That's fine.
I think that was great. Yeah. And we've got the 15-second lag. So type in your questions and I will interrupt Holly whenever she's at a break. But yeah.
So we're going to talk about, is my baby ready? So basic kind of guidelines that I think basically everybody agrees with is if they're formula fed, you can start at 4 months. If they are breastfed, you could start at 6 months. That's just basic guidelines. But in any case, you want to make sure that they have this criteria, all three of them. So they need to lose their tongue thrust, which is just that reflex of the baby basically like pushing stuff out when they're not ready to have food come in. That's an instinctual reflex of a baby that is supposed to be there. So if they're not ready for food, they'll continue to do that. So you don't want to force it past that. They need to be able to hold their heads up so that they can actually support. They have the structure. They'd be able to swallow and not kind of choke down on their food. And they need to show interest in their food. That is, again, just the instinctual, like that's a developmental stage of your baby showing interest, showing that they are actually ready to have food. So if you can answer yes to all three of those and they are like roughly around these ages, then you are ready to start. Okay, so the foods of baby GAPS. So baby GAPS is, it goes over 10 weeks. So wherever you start, say your baby is breastfed, they meet all those criteria, they start at exactly 6 months, just as an example. You're going to have 10 weeks from there where you have a very structured way of feeding them. And it's going to go in a sequence. And this is the sequence here. So starting with meat stock, excuse me. So meat stock is first. You'll do fresh juice, and I'll show more of the exact weeks with these two. But these are the foods. So meat stock, fresh juice, probiotic juice, veggie soup, boiled meat, avocado, raw egg yolk, cooked apple, pancakes, which we'll talk about, and raw veggies. That's the sequence that you're going to go through. Meat stock is an extremely good, it's basically the best food that we know to nourish your body so that your leaky gut is not like this, it gets healed back together again. Probiotics are then going to really help seal that and make sure that it stays really, really tight and strong. So the meat stock, the fresh juice, and that probiotic juice are going to be the first three things that you're giving your baby to nourish really well, to get easily digestible vitamins and nutrients into them, and then to get that wall back sealed and to keep it like that. Then to be adding more things, to be adding more nutrients, you're going to have the veggie soup and then all the other things that we went through. Okay, this is kind of another, basically a view of kind of the same foods, but I just want to show this is your whole shopping list for 10 weeks. So it's not anything that's crazy. And we'll go into all of these too, but you need to make meat stock. I'm not going to really spend a ton of time talking about exact recipes because we have all of these recipes on either the blog or our YouTube channels. And Amy, you can help me remember like which is on which, but I think at least on the blog, we should have all of this. So definitely meat stock. I really like to start with chicken with babies because I think it's the most gentle, and it's really, even Dr. Natasha, who created the whole GAPS protocol, talks about how chicken is just a really good one to start with with the nourishment of it. But you can also use other meats. Carrots, cabbage, yogurt, if you need to make whey from that, unless you have yogurt that you make at home already. Other veggies will come into play. Fats. This is a really big one because I think a lot of people don't. To be honest, I had no idea what tallow was when I first started studying about nutrition. Lard, I just pictured a giant thing of white, like a giant thing that my mom had back when I was a kid, of like something that was white and we didn't know what it was. And we never used it, but it was in the closet all the time. All of this was so foreign to me. But all of these, if they are good quality and they're actual like real fats and not something made in a factory, are so good for your baby and for you. So butter, tallow, lard, coconut oil, olive oil, ghee, fermented cod liver oil, all those things are going to be really important for this too. And then just more basics: avocado, eggs, apple, milk and cream, because we do some cultured dairy, which is basically some like fermented dairy. And it's very much preferable to do it raw. There's certain things that you can do if it's not raw, but if you can get your hands on raw, it's a lot better for your baby. And then almonds or hazelnuts. So this is like your whole list. This is your entire shopping list for 10 weeks. Okay. Homemade is best. It's very large letters because I wanted to emphasize this. Bouillon cubes or, those other whatever packs of stock or whatever are not what we're talking about. So especially when it comes to stock, we're looking for, basically we're going to make a whole meal from it. And we want to use all the good parts of this animal. So I'm going to stick with chicken just for example's sake. But what we're doing is we get a whole chicken, we cut that chicken up, and we expose the different joints that allow the stock to have gelatin and to get all the different really good nutrients that we need in there, that it just can't. Getting something from the store, even if it says stock, even if it's like a organic, really good quality meat stock, it's just not the same. Those things have to be pasteurized. Those things have to have nutrients that are in the process of creating them. They kill off almost all the nutrients that we want. So homemade is going to be best in every single case. Other reasons, I heard a really cool study a few years ago that I loved, where they studied basically the same exact foods made by a grandma or a mom in the home versus the same foods that were made by a wonderful chef at some really great restaurant. And they affected the people totally differently, like the same people, where they kind of just showed basically like that home cooked meal, the love that's poured into it and the process of it doing it at home with really like that affection is so much better nutritionally for the person who's consuming it. So I just thought that was super cool. I love that study.
That's cool.
Okay. Here is our, just the printable chart of our, the Baby GAPS weaning protocol that we have on our website. So, I wonder, Amy, I don't know if we could show it, but I'll just go through really quick, like how to get there. So if you go to the website, which is bewellclinic.net, you'll go to, there's a top bar and it says the GAPS diet or GAPS. What does it say, Amy? I think it's the GAPS diet.
Let me pull it up.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, it says one of those things.
So it says GAPS. It's pretty clear.
It says the GAPS diet.
The GAPS diet. If you hover over that, on the bottom, it'll be baby GAPS. And then that'll bring you up to kind of our general baby GAPS page. At the bottom of that is this whole chart where you can put your email in and it'll just send you this. So I made this to be printed like double-sided so that you can just have this on your fridge. This part here on the left with all the colors gives you a really basic guide of what you're doing each week. So week 1, you just look across, you're doing meat stock and fresh juice. Week 2, you're going to build on that. So you're still doing meat stock and fresh juice, and you add probiotic juice and veggie soup. Week 3, same thing. You're building on the meat stock and juice, the probiotic juice and veggies, and then you're adding in the boiled meat and the avocado. So it just goes down like that week by week. It kind of gives you just your header. So then the next side, the part here that's on the right, goes through more in depth of what you're doing each week, and some more tips and stuff just for you to just help you remember.
I can go ahead and share the screen really fast if you want to.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, let me turn it on and make it big. Go over to it. So hovering over here at the GAPS diet, and then it's down here at baby GAPS. And here is about it. And then the protocol is right there. You can put an email address in and get it. Okay, that's all.
Cool. I can only see my screen, so tell me when I'm back.
You're back. You're
okay. All right, cool. So this is what it looks like. I just wanted you guys to see it here, but we'll go through it more in depth. So here we go. Okay, so week 1, we're going to go through the next 10 weeks here. So week 1, you're going to give your baby 1 to 2 teaspoons of meat stock before each time you breastfeed, as possible. And that's a big part, actually, that as possible. So you don't, I mean, when your baby wakes up at 5:30 in the morning, and like mine does, and they just want to nurse, no, you do not have to go up and heat up your meat stock. Just breastfeed your baby and, and do your day. But throughout the day, when it's practical, as many times as you can, you want to be introducing, giving this meat stock. You can do it in a couple different ways. So with meat stock, we want to, sorry, I'm sitting on a yoga ball, so I might be bouncing. Sorry. So let's see, I'm going to stop myself from bouncing and think where we're at. Okay, so as you, so when you're doing the teaspoons of meat stock, you can do like in a spoon, if you can try to manage that. Sometimes that's harder. I usually do start with a bottle, but with meat stock, and when you see our recipes on the blog and stuff, you'll see we talk about doing, you really want to blend up like all the little bits, all the little like nibbly parts that are next to the bones and stuff. Those are all really good for your baby to have. So you want to take those little like parts off the bones and blend them up and put them in with the stock, because those are so nutritious. They have a lot of the like collagen and stuff in them that are going to help to heal the gut. So those are really important. So I would recommend either doing a spoon, which your baby might be totally fine with that. Mine didn't really in the very beginning, so I did a bottle. But you could do just like a large nipple bottle to make sure all those things get through. And then just do as much as you can. That's another thing too. Like I said before, first taste, your baby's going to be like spit that out. It doesn't mean anything. You didn't do a bad job. Your stock is totally fine. It's just your baby has been having sweet breast milk for such a long time, or formula. That is a completely different taste from the meat stock. So keep it going. Keep trying it. Just keep introducing it, and soon your baby's going to just remember, oh yeah, this is what I do now. Especially if you breastfeed afterwards, and that's kind of the reward. So they have the meat, and they just become accustomed to, here we go, I'm doing the meat, or sorry, that's not meat yet, but the stock, and then the breast or the formula after that. And just a distinction I want to make here. We are talking about meat stock, which is very different from bone broth. While we're going through all of at least these 10 weeks, we're only using meat stock. Bone broth is a different thing, and it's super nourishing, and it has lots of really good qualities to it. but it can be more irritating to the gut while the gut is still healing. So meat stock is a different thing. Meat stock is a relatively short cooked stock, and it uses meaty bones, so bones that have meat on them. So we're not just doing bones, and we're not cooking it over like 24 hours, something like that. So it's that short cooked meaty bone stock that we're making.
And even, sorry to interrupt, and even when we run into being able to do bone broth later, bone broth is good for electrolytes, but meat stock is good for collagen, amino acids, and things like that. So if we are relying a lot of our dietary intake on soups and stocks, they need to be the rich stock. A bone broth will leave you hungry, and we don't want hungry kids or hungry adults, but we don't want hungry kids. So even if later when their gut is healed and doing some bone broth is fine, you still want to keep in the stock and use that for a lot of your family cooking. So I know Holly knows that it's hard to remember everything when you're talking.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, jump in, because all of the notes of stuff that I was gonna say I don't have on my screen, so I'm just winging it right now. So thanks, jump in when you want. Okay, and then secondly, we're going to do the fresh pressed vegetable juice. So we're going to do, this is 1 to 2 teaspoons a day. And this is, we're going to start with carrot juice for a few days, and then we'll start adding a couple other things, one thing at a time. So we'll do carrot first, then you can add some cabbage, you can do some celery or lettuce, something like that to this. We are doing this again with the juice. It's really easily digestible, and there's lots of different nutrients that are in there. And it really helps just kind of introducing some more different sorts of nutrients and different sorts of flavor panels and that kind of thing. So we're going to start with that. You're going to do just like 1 or 2 teaspoons, and you're going to add it to some filtered water. And that I would do through a bottle if they take a bottle, or however you want to do that. This has to be homemade. We are not going to use any kind of commercial juices at all, because those typically, when you actually get that from the store, they're already rotten. They already have, they're already basically spoiled. A lot of times they have added sugar or other ingredients, or they've been pasteurized, or basically either killed off or dead or rotten or something. So not what we're going for at all. If you have a juicer, that's great. I mean, you can literally do like a carrot and you've gotten what you need. Or if you don't have a juicer, you can still do it with a blender, like a high powered blender. Just do it as much as you can, and then like put all in a little cloth napkin or something and just squeeze it out, and there's your juice. And that's totally fine to do. And then you want to use this juice. Juice goes bad pretty quickly, actually, or it loses a lot of the like nutritional content pretty quickly. So you want to use it within, I said an hour, which I think is actually kind of almost like generous, like within 30 minutes usually of pressing it or juicing it. Let's see if there's anything else there. Okay. Oh, and then one thing I did want to say, and Amy, you kind of touched on this, but with the meat stock, you want to make sure you're leaving in all of that fat, all of the gelatin, all of the fat, all the oiliness. That is really, really good. And that's like what we're going for. I know that's very counter-cultural kind of. I've seen a lot of people like, all right, let's skim that part off. But like, no, that is the good stuff. That's really the part that we want. That's going to help to heal the gut specifically. And we want it to be gelatinous too. So my favorites are when I make it, and I probably put in like a little less water than I meant to. And I could literally like take it and flip it upside down, and it just stays in there because it's just like so gelatinous, like Jello. And that's good. That's what you want to do. So you'll basically, if you have that, you're just going to warm it up a little bit. It'll go more liquid. It's not going to be like gelatin. It'll go more liquid, and then you'll give that to your baby. So keep all that stuff in. Don't take any of that out. Mm-hmm. Okay, week 2. So in addition to the previous food, so everything that we just said, you're going to keep doing that, but we're going to do some more now. And of those things that we did in week 1, you're just going to keep increasing as your baby will take it. With mostly the meat stock, you're going to just keep increasing that meat stock as your baby will take it. Okay, so then week 2, we're going to introduce half a teaspoon per day of a probiotic juice. So this can be either homemade whey or homemade sauerkraut juice, or a like cabbage tonic too. We have recipes for all of these. These, like I said, these are going to really keep your gut lining strong and sealed. So we're bringing it together, we're healing it, and then we're keeping it sealed, so that it doesn't just keep on getting Hollie again. So this is going to be really important for this. So you're going to do whey. And again, before I did GAPS, I had no idea what whey was. I thought of Muffet, and that's all that I knew about whey. So you're going to have, so if you buy yogurt from the store and you see like that liquid part on top, that's whey. So you're going to take that, and you basically just want to get all the whey out of yogurt. You can take it from, and Amy, I always do it from yogurt. If you want to throw in other ideas, you're welcome to. But if you have yogurt that you've made at home, you can do that. You can also do it from yogurt from the store, as long as it is plain whole milk, probiotic, organic, good quality yogurt. You can use that. So you'll just basically dump that on a cheesecloth or in a cloth napkin or something, or a towel. Hang those and let the whey drip down into a bowl. I let mine go for about 24 hours, and then whatever's in the bowl is your whey, and you're going to use that. So you'll put it in the fridge. It's good in the fridge for a long time, like 6 months, something like that. It always goes. I always use it way before that, but it'll last a long time, and then you'll just take a little scoop with a clean spoon out of that and give that to your baby. So half a teaspoon a day, or you can do the juice from sauerkraut that you've made at home. So we're only doing the juice. We're not doing the actual like cabbage or whatever vegetables you have in there, just the juice, but that's also totally fine to do. And then we're going to do vegetable soup. So this is kind of soup, but you're going to do, it can be kind of more of a puree kind of thing. You'll do about 2 to 4 teaspoons daily. This is going to be, I have a whole list of things here like carrot, squash, onion, broccoli, or cauliflower that doesn't have a stem. We want to just make sure that it's all peeled, de-seeded, and then you're going to cook that till it's super soft, like falling apart in the meat stock. Once that's all really, really well cooked, you're going to take it out, let it just go to being warm, and then mix it with a fat. One of the ones that we talked about before. So an animal fat like butter or ghee or tallow or lard. You can do coconut oil or olive oil. And it's actually really good to cycle those and just kind of rotate through those with your baby so that they get used to all of those fats have different components that are really, really beneficial for us. So it'll help them kind of get a whole assortment of the nutrients in there. And then also help just kind of diversifying the flavors and stuff.
And just to clarify, when you're saying doing the soup, what you mean is to have the vegetables be very runny and mixed. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So at this point, that's what we're doing.
It's what differentiates this. That's why you have it in quotes. It's what differentiates stock, or what we would call soup, maybe, into you're soft cooking the vegetables and making them fatty and runny and delicious.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. So yes, you can do it in little chunks, but they should be soft enough where they're just kind of like falling away, or puree it into kind of like a thick soup, like a, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, like a thick soup that people might, that adults might eat. But you can feed that to your baby too. So, all right. So that is week 2. Week 3, I have to look at my time because I could talk forever. Okay. All right, let's go fast. So here we go. So organic. So then you're going to add organic meats that have been boiled in the stock. Again, this is, you've made your stock and you're using the bones with the meat on them. So that's that meat that you're going to be using. They should be really soft. You can either do little bits that are like little small ones that they won't choke on, or you can blend them. Whatever you want to do there. I like giving little like ones that can fall apart, and babies can start like learning how to pick those up. You want to really do the muscle meats are okay, but you want to do darker meats in particular. So you want to do like the things that are close to the bone, all the little bits that get stuck on the wings and the legs and the carcass, and little bits of skin. That one's a little hard to do for babies because mine always like choked on them a little bit, like I'm doing now apparently. But you can cut those up really small. You can blend those into the stock and get all the nutrition in there like that too. And then organ meats. I love these. My favorite by far is liver. I do cook it in with the stock and then it just like falls apart so nicely. It's like the easiest, most soft thing for a baby to eat. And like I said, in the way beginning, babies love it. They have no problem with it. They like devour it up for almost both mine and everyone that I've talked to for the most part. Sometimes it's like a little learning curve as they're just learning to put that in their mouth and then they love it. So, okay. And then ripe avocado. And that's important to do ripe. We want it to be soft and very, very ripe. You're going to just do 1 or 2 teaspoons for the first few days and then increase it however much your baby wants. And then if your baby's tolerating the whey just fine, you're going to do some homemade yogurt. You can do like a teaspoon. And I like doing that in with my stock. I kind of mix it in with the warm stock. And then keep doing the sauerkraut juice, a teaspoon of that. And we're working up to doing that in each bit of super stock or whatever we're giving them. So the more we can do, the better. Sometimes we have to go slower, especially if they're showing like some rashes or any like evidence of sometimes depending on, I didn't actually put a slide in about this, but depending on what your baby might be healing from, they might actually start showing some symptoms of rashes or things that they actually need to heal from. So as we heal them more and as we do more meat stock or ferments, and as it's really healing their bodies, they're actually taking those toxins and pushing them outward. And we might see them looking kind of sick, but as we keep on going with it, those will die down and they really heal well from that. Amy, you always explain that really well. So if you want to jump in, you're welcome to. But I'll keep going.
Well, the thing that I talk about is what you just said, which is the body often is lacking nutrition, and that's why it hasn't done some healing. And maybe that lacking nutrition happened in utero, so the baby hasn't even had a chance really to repair things that got a little bit damaged by toxins, or things that got they're a little inefficient, or the liver's a little undernourished. And so as soon as you start feeding the body, it all of a sudden can do its jobs really well, and it takes care of and has energy to do things that it didn't have energy to before. And we can look at that without that perspective and go, oh no, what did I just do to my baby, right? Mm-hmm. And what you actually did was help their body to be strong and to repair properly so that in the rest of their life, they'll be healthy and strong and functional. And so we can mitigate that by going a little bit slower. If you're noticing that with meat stock, maybe just stay on that amount for a little while before increasing, and just hang out on that week 3 or whatever you're on for a couple more weeks, and then pick up and go to the next week. So it's really about feeding the body, then it's strong, not that you did something wrong. So now there's a rhyme right there. Yes,
make it into a meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying about the nutrients that your body needs. Kind of in doing this sequence here, we're providing the various nutrients that your baby's body needs as they're healing, or as they're growing, or just as they're needing more of a nutritional support. Because as they grow, they need more, right? Like they need more and different kinds of nutrition, different kinds of minerals and vitamins and all of that. And so that's kind of the goal of this sequence, not only to heal and seal the gut and keep it like that, but to provide the nutrients that they need as they're going forward. So like Amy said, if they are kind of stuck in this one point where they're like, I need more of that. I need more of that nutrient. You're welcome to slow down, stay on that for a little while, let your baby heal and kind of catch up there, and then move on to the next. And I'll talk about it in a little bit, but our babies are so intuitive, and it's a really good thing to just follow that. See how they're doing, see how they are eating. If they want to if one day they take 15 milliliters of meat stock, and then the next day they only want 3, that's okay. Keep introducing it and let the baby go for it and see that it's there and try it. But sometimes they just need to like slow down, and they just need a little break, and that's totally fine. So I think a big important part of this is watching your baby, their body, their mood, how they are, and keep on going with this. Keep going with the sequence, and trying to introduce. But you certainly don't have to force feed. You don't have to get up to a certain amount or anything like that. This is all subject to your baby, and what they need in that point. So, okay, so weeks 4 and 5. So now we're starting to lump weeks together. So 4 and 5, and this is kind of a nice time if you need to like take a break and go a little bit longer with one. That's kind of why these weeks are here, because we're introducing lots of new things now. So after doing a sensitivity test, you're going to add some raw organic egg yolk to your baby's stock or to their soup. Sensitivity test is when you take a little bit of the thing that you're introducing and you put it on the baby somewhere. You can do it on the wrist or somewhere that you could easily like cover up. You're going to do it before bed so that you can look at it about 12 hours later. Generally, we want to see 12 hours later. And I always put a little kind of like a piece of gauze on there. But I'm a nurse, so I have gauze. So whatever you have to like put over there just to kind of protect it, so it's not just getting rubbed off during the night. And then look at it after 12 hours. If it is, if everything looks normal, you look at it, you wipe it off, and it looks totally normal. Good, your baby's ready to go. If it looks like it's red or inflamed or irritated at all, then wait a little bit longer, wait another week or two, and then try to introduce the egg yolks in a little bit later. We are healing food sensitivities with this. That's one of the things that we want to do. And so as we keep going with the meat stock and the probiotics and all the things that we're doing, we do anticipate your baby being able to introduce things that they may have been sensitive to previously.
Before we had a question come in about the last slide. How does a new mother know what her baby, quote, needs with regard to these nutrients?
Specifically with this one?
I think it was more, back to that, where you were talking about, listening to your baby's body and what are they wanting? And
yeah, that's a really good question. So that's where I get into still all of these foods in particular, we know are really nourishing and easy for the body to digest. We know that these are really good. When your body starts to show, when your baby starts to show that they maybe don't want to take in as much, you feel like you're forcing it more on them. If they seem like they are just not interested in it, something like that, your baby will generally give you clues or cues that they don't want something at a certain time. And they will generally show you by their interest in how much they take in when they're ready for something else. Honestly, I feel like it's as simple as that. I usually have I'll have some either my own kids or patients of mine that one day they're like, oh my goodness, he ate an entire liver. Like he just went for it. He just wanted it. It was so weird. And that was just literally his body just taking him to that point saying, I need these nutrients. I need the B and the A and all of the things that are in this liver. Same with the probiotics. I've had my baby and then also another patient I'm thinking of who's like, can I let them drink this much? Like, is it okay if they're doing this? And I'm like, well, try it out. If they're going for it, that's their body instinctively telling them that they actually need that, and then they're okay with it.
A couple just big picture reassurances as a mom. One of the things that we are taught strongly in our culture and even in the modern world is that you should ignore your instincts because they're probably wrong. And different people got that more strongly than others. But even think about, what do alarms do? Doesn't matter if you're tired, you should get up. It doesn't matter if you're hungry, it's not mealtime. It doesn't matter if you are hungry, it's mealtime. You should eat your food. You should only eat this much. You should only do this. We are taught so much. You have instincts, and you have instincts that are given to you to care for your child and to care for your own body. And sometimes it takes a little practice to get into those. I have found mom's instincts during labor is strongest. You let a mom do what she wants, she's going to be okay. When moms can't move their bodies or do what they want, that's when we have problems a lot of times. As a mom, you have a strong hormonal connection, instinct-driven knowledge. Just trust it. Trust your instincts. The way that God designed our bodies is for cravings to say, that's good for me, I want it. That will help me right now. Again, it could help you clean up and it could look like a messy rash, but that's good for you. So really just trusting that you are walking in and doing what is strong. So yes, so you let your baby show you and tell you what's going on, and then just trust that you are reading their clues. You're going to mess up sometimes. That's fine, because you're learning too. They're learning. Nobody's going to die. It's going to be great. And then you're going to get better, and you can also teach them how to act for their body, to listen to their body, to ask for nutrition too. So it's one of my favorite things of getting a baby that is brand new and hasn't experienced a lot of sugar or a lot of chemicals or anything like that. They can actually learn to like foods that are good for them and not like foods that are not good for them in a unique way. So exciting. So exciting. For the person who asked about sensitivity tests, I'm typing that out because it's clear and it's fairly simple. So I'm just typing that out for that answer. So
cool.
Someone asked to repeat it and I'm typing it out.
Okay, thanks for doing that. Yeah, and with that, like mother's instinct or parent's instinct, but just speaking as a mother, and like I think that we really were equipped with this like special way to read our children that, like Amy said, that we just have gotten so far away from, because we're told. I mean, a lot of what we're told right now is, call the nurse hotline, call the doctor, call somebody, don't do it. Like, look online. Like, there's so many resources that we have been, I think we've become accustomed with not listening to ourselves. And not just like stopping and thinking, okay, what is happening and what is logical and what makes sense? And what do I feel comfortable with? What do I not feel comfortable with? And that's where I think so much danger lies. I mean, with so many other things, as kids get older and as we have so many more questions and things that are thrown at us, with babies, it's fairly simple, right? Like, they have to eat and they have to poop and they have to sleep and there's not much more. But like, as kids get older and there's so many more things that come into play, it really is so important to be growing those muscles, building up those muscles of thinking for yourself, thinking what makes sense, seeing what benefits your baby or your child or yourself or what doesn't, and going with that. Because we are smart people. We were made to be smart, to be able to think, to be able to make decisions for ourselves and not have to constantly think like, well, I can't trust myself, I have to trust somebody else, because you can trust yourself. And that's why we're doing this. This is just a guide to help you be able to remember how to trust yourself and remember how to take care of your baby, because you can totally do it. You have everything you need to do it. So, okay. All right, so moving on with weeks 4 and 5. So if your baby tolerates the homemade yogurt, you can add or replace it with creme fraiche. Kind of another cultured dairy. There's the word. That's more on the fatty side than on the protein side, versus like with the yogurt. But again, you can do either or. Both are really good. Both will provide probiotics for your baby. And then you're going to try some apple, I think this is super fun. So you're going to do just a teaspoon. You're starting really slow with a cooked apple, sauteed in a ton of fat. So it's more fat than apple, really. You're just going to do like a little apple taste along with any of those fats that we talked about before. Any of the good, real fats. So butter, lard, tallow, coconut oil, butter, ghee, any of those things. All right, weeks 6 and 7. So you're still doing all the other things. You're still doing more of the probiotic juice. You're still doing more of the meat stock. Your baby's being like, learning, like, this is really good for me. I love this, starting to devour. So you're still doing all that stuff. And then you can be increasing your homemade yogurt. You can even add it to your baby's fresh juice. I actually love doing this, more with creme fraiche and more for me. I think it's delicious, but do it for everybody. You can increase to 2 raw egg yolks per day in the stocks, in the soups, kind of in whatever you're having them eat, if they tolerated it. And then increase the amount of meat that your baby's consuming. So this one is really, you're just increasing. You're just doing all the same things. You're not really adding anything different. You're just increasing and kind of intentionally increasing and seeing how your baby tolerates all of it. So this is an easy one. And then weeks 8 and 9. Okay, so you're gonna do some nut butter pancakes. These are slightly, this takes a little more prep because you're gonna make your own nut butter. So if you haven't done that before, you wanna either soak or sprout and use almond or hazelnuts. Amy, I totally meant to have a chart of how long to soak or sprout, and I don't have it in front of me, but maybe we can provide that somewhere. Do we have that somewhere?
We don't have one specifically, but I think that would be a great blog post. So once we get that blog post written, we will link it in the description of this video below.
Perfect. Okay. And I was gonna put up a recipe for the nut butter pancakes in particular anyway, so we can.
Yeah, I have nut-free nut butter pancakes and nut butter pancakes, but they're not made for baby. I bet there's some differences or some ideas that you have. So we might either redo that or have a special baby version. So any recipes, it's as we do this, if you're watching this as a replay stream years or months later, then we will put recipes as we have them linked to down here. So definitely check out for resources as you are watching this, whenever that is. Except right now, there's nothing right now.
I have several in process in my kitchen right now, so I'll be putting stuff up in the next few days, so you can look pretty cool. Okay, so you're going to, after you make this nut butter, so you're going to soak it or sprout it. And Amy has a really good video from like a few years ago, actually, of why we soak or sprout. And I love it. It's super short, and it just like talks about like why we have to do that. Because it actually does make us able to digest them. Otherwise we can't digest them. But it makes us able to digest and use the nutrients that are there. So you're going to blend that into a butter. You're going to mix it up with a little cooked squash and egg. And then you're going to fry it again in a huge amount of fat. And then just one little pancake. You're going to give one little pancake to your baby per day. You can totally, depending on the consistency, sometimes they fall apart a little more. But I like I'll just give one of these to my baby, and I can just kind of like pick at it. And they really enjoy that. So, okay. And then you're going to increase the amount of fresh juice. You can add a little bit of apple, makes it a little sweeter. You can do that now to your fresh juice. And then just keep adding yogurt or creme fraiche to the juice. And then you can try some raw veggies. So many times, like this is one of the first go-tos that most babies go for. Like people who are not following this, they'll be like, oh, here's a carrot stick, and you just go for it. But that can actually be really hard on the gut. So we're finally at that point. We can try that and see how your baby does with it. But still try blending it first. What's recommended is doing either lettuce or peeled cucumber first and like blend that up really well and let them just kind of take little bits of that and see how they do with it. And then if they tolerate that just fine, I would wait a day. And if they tolerate that fine, go ahead and blend up some carrot, celery, or cabbage, just one at a time. You'll introduce those things. And we want to blend it. We want to like kind of almost pre-digest it for them. It's just kind of the difference there is that we're not juicing it and we're not cooking it. So this is just a new form that they're trying it in. Okay, finally, week 10 and beyond. So you're still doing all the other things. Now you can start giving your baby a whole egg. So you're going to give the whites too. Up until this point, we've just done egg yolks because those are more easily digestible. And a lot of times if people have issues with eggs, it's usually to the whites. So we've done just the yolks for now, but now it's time to add in the whites. So you can scramble those up with a whole bunch of fat and then increase. You're going to start with one, see how they do with it, and then just keep increasing from there. Eggs are so nutritious. So if your baby does well with them, I don't limit my kids on eggs. We can do as many as we want. And then you're going to introduce some raw fruit. So you can start with raw apple without the skin, and then some ripe banana. Big thing with this is you just want to make sure your baby is eating the fruit away from meals, because it can affect the digestion of the proteins, and start with just a little bit and then increase it. And then you'll do some cottage cheese. I'll have a recipe for this coming up too. So cottage cheese from your yogurt, and you start with a teaspoon and then go on with that. I just remembered I was going to say, because I didn't have my notes, I'm sorry. So week 3, we're going to go back really quick. Week 3, if your baby's been using formula, you want to start replacing formula with the soup that you've been doing, with that like veggie soup. And all of this is in that guide. So if you print off that guide, it'll have it spelled out right there. But we want to, if your baby's been using formula, week 3 is when we really want to start just like kind of getting them off of that, because that's less of an easily digestible food. And we really want to make sure that they're eating foods that are going to be healing and digestible. So week 3, you start replacing. If you're breastfeeding, just keep breastfeeding like you have been. You can do that for however long you want to. And then week 6 to 7. So that week when we're doing the 6 and 7 together, if your baby has been on formula, you're going to stop the formula altogether at that point. At that point, your baby's getting the nutrition that they need through the food that we've gotten to up at that point. Again, if they're breastfeeding, just keep on breastfeeding. You can start kind of a weaning at this point if you want to. If it's better for you to do morning and evening or whatever, you can kind of start playing around with that with the breast milk. But you do want to have them off the formula at this point. And then I think, yeah, that's it. That's what I was sure.
So that's great. I actually had that question in an appointment today, which was mom was breastfeeding and ready to start weaning, but she's like, when do we have to replace formula? Baby's 11 months old. Do we have to replace formula, or, how much is food? So that's something that doesn't get discussed very much. It's like, until you're 1, do food. Well, the reason for that is because the food that most people feed their children in a typical weaning diet, an American weaning diet, isn't full of nutrition. So they're just assuring that you have enough nutrition. This is full of nutrition. You do not, if your baby is eating to their heart's content these foods, it is a good formula. It is a replacement, those types of things. So that is something for our brain, because we're like, but it's not milk. In our culture, we're so, and in many cultures, we're so onto that milk or formula, or has to be something. But it really is about nutrition. And this is a great, great balanced thing. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, some people live on this, what we talked about. Some people live on what we went up to like by week 4, like that. People can live on that. Those it is providing the nutrition you need, with the stocks, with the meats, with the eggs, with, some people don't even eat any plant matter whatsoever. Like you can live on this. So it is providing what your baby needs for sure. By the time you're getting up to that point, week 6, 7, your baby is going to be fine coming off the formula and starting up with, or just continuing what you're doing. So
I thought of a really cool thing. I'm sorry, and then I'll let you, but on those weeks, there were a couple things, because you had mentioned about when we get to one of the things, when to know to slow down. And when you were talking about apples, I was thinking about that. And that's a great indicator. If you eat apples and you have flora or leaky gut that's not ready, oftentimes you might get fussy or a rash, or some cradle cap gets worse or something like that, because you're feeding a yeast that is still overgrown a little bit. So remember, flora and leaky gut go together with each other. So that was just one specific example of, if you introduce apples, even that cooked in tons of butter apple, and your baby all of a sudden starts getting things, that's a great sign to say, we're not ready yet, and go back and take some more time on some of the other, with the earlier foods for a while before you go on to that next stage. So there's little things, again, with the raw vegetables, if you do that and your baby doesn't tolerate it, Holly said, that really is that something happens. They flare up a rash, or they get fussy, or they get diarrhea, or you start seeing food pieces. If that stays consistent, sometimes once is whatever, babies do things, but if it's a consistent thing, that would be one of those signals of, my baby's not quite there. So then you just hang out on the week earlier.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I actually totally meant to say that with the apples. So thanks. A lot of times with that, you'll see like diarrhea or something like that. You'll see a change in the stools, or like you said, rashes or something else. And then, yeah, you're totally fine. You can, like Amy said, your baby just needs some continued healing and some more of the previous nutrition. So you just wait. With adults, we usually do like a couple weeks. A lot of times with babies, I think you don't necessarily even have to go that long. You can even try it. Dr. Natasha, again, who created the GAPS protocol originally, said try 2 more days and then see how they do. So you can kind of try it, give your baby a few more days. If you want to go a week, something like that, you're totally welcome to, and just retry. And you can always just see where they're at then. That's a really good indicator of their kind of level of healing. So yeah, perfect. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we made it through all of our weeks. So just a couple things to remember. And probably I touched on some of these, but you don't have to do all the things every day. So ideally, we're going in sequence, we're going, kind of following this schedule. You don't have to do everything every day. I think that can get a little overwhelming, especially because we have different things going on. We work and we have, we go places, we have people visit, and we have different things going on. And sometimes our babies are like, no, I don't want that right now. Like I said, in that case, you'd offer it and you'd see, and you don't have to force it. But don't feel like you have to do all the things that we talked about. You don't have to do that cooked apple. You don't have to do the pancakes every single day. The main things are to keep doing the stock, to keep doing the ferments, do the juice as much as you can, the eggs as much as you can, kind of those more foundational ones. Do those as much as you can. Don't stress about you have to do all of the things all the time. We touched on this, your baby's taste buds, desires, needs, that'll change, and that's good and that's normal. And that's totally fine. So again, if they take 10 milliliters or 10 teaspoons or whatever of stock one day, and then 2, and then 30, and it's kind of all over the place, that is okay. Keep offering it. Don't force feed it. Your baby's going to take what they need. You don't need to stick to exact amounts. I had a lot of guidelines of like 1 teaspoon or 2 teaspoons or half a teaspoon. Those are simply guidelines, and don't feel like you need to just stick to that to get up to it. Or, if your baby's like, please, I want more, just devouring it, just go for it. It's totally fine. That's just listening to your baby and seeing that instinctual thing. I think there's a reason why mothers or grandmas, I guess in particular, love seeing people eat, right? They get so much joy from that. And there's a reason, if your baby is doing that, let yourself just be like, oh, good, he's doing it, and just let him eat it. We don't have to limit or stick to certain amounts. Food is messy. Just remember that. We all know it, but you're going to have a mess in your kitchen, both when you're making food and when your baby's eating food. And that's totally fine. I think it's a good thing just to kind of get your mind into. Baby can be naked. Who cares? Strip them down, do it on the tile floor, whatever. Just let there be a mess. I think your baby, I'll say this later, but your baby is, they can connect, they can see when you're stressed or when you're upset or when you're frazzled or anything. And they respond to that probably in a similar way. So if you can just kind of take a few deep breaths. Okay, it's going to be a mess. I'll clean this up. It's not that big of a deal. It's just stock or avocado. It'll be a lot easier. And I know that from a lot of experience.
And the other benefit I love with it being messy is they're getting actually 5 senses of understanding and remembrance of that food. So their body knows what it tastes and smells and feels and touch like. And so you actually have this unique ability to let your baby be messy and give them a sensory input and a knowledge base that will help them for their whole life. So I love that part of it too.
Yeah. And then I think it also just gives them, when kids are having fun with food, it gives them a good relationship with food. Yeah. So you're not stop it, put your hands down, I will feed you. They're never going to like the food like that. It's just going to be a chore So just the joy of it, like you said, totally. The senses, all of that is a very necessary developmental thing for these babies. So the foods you're giving your baby are good for your whole family. So you are totally welcome to kind of make this for the whole family. We talked about some reactions before. So family members may have certain, healing kinds of reactions. But you don't have to, but this is totally good. You can drink stock too. If you're breastfeeding, it's going to be so good for your baby too. If you're, drinking stock along with them. Just good. These are all wholesome, really nourishing foods for everybody. If you are giving real, properly prepared foods, they will be good for your baby. That's kind of the philosophy that we operate on. Real foods are good. Foods that are made the right way are really good for your baby. You're doing the right thing for them if you are giving them real, nourishing things. Not everyone will understand, and that is totally fine. That is okay. Family members, grandparents, friends who are doing things a different way, they're not going to understand. And you don't want to necessarily be like, well, you're hurting your child or whatever. Like, you are doing your own thing for your child. You have a different understanding. You are instinctual. You are listening to your gut and doing this for your baby. And that is totally, not only is that okay, that is fantastic. And if people don't understand that, I think that's something that's good to just kind of just know to let go, and that is okay. You can have conversations with people, especially if it's people that you are leaving your children with, grandparents, or if they're in daycare or something like that. It's really important to have those conversations and to make sure that whoever you're leaving them with will at least respect your wishes with this. But don't feel like you need to get everyone on board or convince people or anything. Like, you do what you know is best for your child. I could talk a lot more about that. Amy, you're welcome to if you want to, because I know we both feel similarly about that.
Yep. And remember that you don't have to tell everyone or explain everyone what you're doing. And if there's people that are going to be really resistant to this and it's going to be too much energy, like, you do not have a responsibility to tell everyone you ever meet what you feed your child, right? Which we know that, right? But you also don't have the responsibility to tell everyone what you feed your child. You can just do what you do. And the people that support you or think the same way or support you even though they don't, right? Those are the people to talk to. Guard your energy, not in a fearful way, right? But be wise about your energy and what people are going to respond. And what's hardest is when people we want to respond really well are the ones that don't. When it's a parent or a best friend and you want their support and they're not going to give it. So just, don't fight, just what you said, Holly. Don't fight battles. Don't feel like you have to convince people. Be settled in your heart. And if you keep getting unsettled by a conversation with a certain person, maybe just have different conversations with that person and don't have that be brought up if possible. So, just be wise, think through it before you get in the situation, because that will help you be able to just, circumvent that. Or say, yeah, my baby ate today. It was really exciting, and just like, you don't have to give specifics. So it's not lying to not say everything that you are thinking or knowing. So, or just send them to the Be Well Clinic website. That sometimes works, but not always. But you're welcome to send them.
Yeah, and on that note, I was going to say too, we do have a really good community with Be Well Clinic. We have people who understand this, who are doing it, who have done it, who do it repeatedly for themselves. And we have a really good community. We are building up that community. So we would love for anybody, anyone watching, anybody that you can share this with, to connect them with our community, because we do need support. This is really hard. Parenting in general is hard. Parenting intentionally is even harder. Doing GAPS it's like, you can't do it alone, basically. And we have a community, so we'd love for you guys to join in, for anyone who is not already in it. And that's changing all the time. We're constantly, every week, we're like, oh man, we have a new, better idea. so it's going to be looking differently, especially now. Everyone, I think people are seeking community so much more now. So we're really trying to build that up right now. And then it gets easier as you go. You make meat stock, make it twice. You got it. You're going to have it down. It's just the first time you make things, it's a learning curve, and it can get frustrating, and I totally understand that, but it's so much easier as you go. Just do it. It really doesn't even take that long as you're learning how to cook and learning how to feed your child. Unless just you are doing an amazing job. You really are. Even just the fact of watching this long, you're doing a really good job, because you are really seeking out what is the best thing for my child. You are trying to learn how to nourish them, to set them up well, to give them a good foundation. And that is really good. That's amazing. You're doing a great job. I think I just have a couple of things, but I think, are we over time, Amy? We are. Wow,
Yeah.
a lot.
It's okay.
All right, couple other just like basic things to help your baby: getting outside, being in the sunshine. You don't have to protect your baby from the sun. The sun is good. The sun is great for us. So get them outside in the grass, in bare feet. It's totally great. Not right now because it's freezing, but as much as you can. You don't need skin and hair products. Water is great, and lotions, any lotions can be coconut oil or tallow or anything like that. You really don't need product. My son has had soap on his body one time, and that was a mistake. It was unintentional. But yeah, you don't need those other things that are marketed toward babies or anything. I did say this before, your baby does pick up on your mood. So just have fun with your babies. You can, have your stressed time other times, but try around food time. You just want to try as much as you can. Deep breathing is just so huge. I constantly do that all the time. Just deep breathe and let your baby see you calm and enjoying this. And then as much as you can, fluoride, chlorine, these things are in our water. These things are all around, but as much as you can, any of those toxic chemicals, try to keep those off of your baby. So you can do it with the dechlorinator balls that we have on our resource page, any filters, drinking water filters. Definitely use filtered water if you're in your meat stocks or your ferments. And yeah, I think that's about it. Right. And then you can do it. We're here, and here's my babies. Just so you know, my daughter's great, super healthy now, thankfully, after that first picture. And there's my son. So, all right, you can end the screen here.
We have one question, and then if anyone else has more questions, and honestly, I try to do an hour, and it's usually about an hour 25. So we are exactly where I usually talk to. So someone asked, we generally think of meat stock being salty. Do you recommend putting salt or other seasonings in the meat stock?
Yeah, so I do sea salt. I think it's good to help get extra electrolytes in there. So sea salt, that's a good pure sea salt. And we actually have a really good, my hand's here, a post that Amy did on how to choose salt. So any, like a sea salt, not an iodized salt, not a table salt, but something like that is great. You can do herbs. Usually with this, we want to do some herbs that are just like whole herbs that you put in, and then take out the whole stock so they're not eating those. But that can help out with flavors too. Amy, you want to add?
Yeah. So commercially bought stock is very salty. It's good to make your salt. Our taste buds, our cravings naturally for salt is actually for minerals. They have created a monstrously deficient salt, which is just sodium chloride with iodine, as opposed to like the Baja Gold salt, which I love, is over 87 trace minerals. Celtic has 87, Baja Gold has more. I'm not sure how many, but it has more. So there are beautiful, robust amounts of minerals in salt. That's what our body craves when it wants salt, and that's what we do. When the food doesn't have anything but sodium chloride, you have to put a lot into it to try to get that flavor to hit your taste buds, but really what your body's craving is salt. So anyway, it's a brokenness in the marketing and whatever system of processed food. We don't need to have salt or stock that salty. Babies do want good sea salt, but not necessarily, something that we would taste as like, wow, that's really salty. That's probably a little much for them. I really recommend, as soon as they're a bit older, helping teach them to salt their own foods, or even putting salt on their tray and licking it off so that they can control the amount of minerals, right, in good sea salt that they eat. Because of how important that is. So yes, and then the herbs, fresh herbs, like you said. I actually found just the other day it's pretty big like tea ball, right? But you can put herbs in it so that it's really easy to put them in and pull them out. For a while, it's good to do fresh herbs even in a tea ball. That would just make it easier to get them out of the stock when you're eating it. But you can eventually put dry herbs in that as well and be able to remove them too. So.
Yeah, I just have little like cheesecloth bags too that I put my herbs in and then take those out. But those sound nice. Sounds like less of a mess actually.
I was very excited to find it. It's so big.
Nice. And I love what you said. Actually, my daughter Magnolia, she licks we have a little mini cup of sea salt on our table, and she'll just constantly be like sticking her hands in there. Yeah. And I always want to be like, stop that, stop it, take your hands out of there. And I'm like, okay, this is actually good. Like she needs these. This is her body telling her, because it's good quality stuff. It's salt that has these minerals that her body is asking for. So yeah, it's a good point.
Yep. And yeah, just find a way to make it. Also, salt is antibacterial, so don't even worry about it. You are welcome. People are saying thank you and are excited, and happy baby pictures and mealtime in the bathtub. I mean, separate them, but it was fun. I appreciated that. So yeah. Okay. Well, we'll stick around just for a few more seconds in case a question is like getting typed and doesn't come in, but thank you for joining us. Please share this out. Man, Holly, this was just amazing. And I finally was able to wrap my head around baby gaps because I just couldn't fully place it because I didn't do it. And you brought so much wisdom and helped that. And that will help me help other people too, actually. So I'm very, very excited.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I'm excited to have this video for people to share. So please share. Do subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet, and have people subscribe. For a little exciting, like extra, I'm just killing time while you're asking your questions. For exciting extra, when we get to 1,000 subscribers, which is so far away, we can actually have a community where we can do posts or do surveys or things like that on YouTube here. So if you're a YouTube person, do subscribe and tell people so that we can get to that community actually on the YouTube tab. So yes, you are great job. So interesting. Thank you. Says Chris. So thank you for everyone who joined us. And yeah, we will see you. We have a couple classes coming up in March. And if you're not on our newsletter list, get on our newsletter list. We'll be sending that out next week. Probably next Tuesday, I think, is when that newsletter should go out with our next 2 classes. I would announce them, but I just can't remember them right now. So one's about dentistry and teeth.
Oral health.
Oral health, and I'm teaching something. I can't remember.
Skin, right?
Skin. There we go.
That's going to be a good one. Rashes.
Skin and oral health. So a couple Tuesdays in March at 6:30. And get on our newsletter or subscribe to the channel because it'll tell you when we go live. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Holly, for taking a point here. And we will see everybody